وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي، أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا في بث حي ومباشر عبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning, Michigan. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues.
And good morning, everyone. It's Friday, July 11th, 2025. I'm Ray Hanania, and this is Radio Bellady. I got so many instructions coming at me from all different ways, technologically here. This is Radio Bellady on the U.S. Arab Radio Network on WNZK AM 690 Radio in Michigan. I have two great guests this morning on radio, Mohammed Jaber and Lena Matariyeh, two Arab Americans who have broken the glass ceiling in Chicagoland elections by winning offices to important races. We're going to talk with each one of them about their race. Lena winning a seat on the Orland Township board, which is, believe me when I tell you, a big deal. Orland Park is the heart of the Arab American community in Chicagoland. And before that, back in 2023, Mohammed Jaber was the first Arab elected to the High School District 230 school board after a 35-year fight to get the school board to respect and recognize the rights of Arab American students. We're going to talk about all those issues, but just because of our time sequence, we're going to take a quick break first. And then when we come back, I'll talk with Lena and Mohammed about the challenges they faced, how they won. And remember, folks, Chicago is not like Dearborn. We got a huge Arab population in Chicago, but it's spread out all over. In Dearborn and Hamtramck and those areas outside of Detroit, you guys are concentrated together and you have a strong voice and you elect people at every level. In Chicago, it's like a war zone if we want to get representation. It's not that easy. These two guests are Arab Americans who made it, got elected to office, and they're doing great things for us. We're going to talk to them about the challenges. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back right after these messages.
A car accident can change your life in an instant. As a result of a car accident, you may become unemployed. As a result of a car accident, you may need a lot of medical treatment. People think that insurance companies are on their side. Why? Because they're giving them one or two benefits. Are they giving them all the benefits they deserve? How would one know unless you consult with an attorney? Call the law offices of Jumana Kiruz at 248-557-3645. 248-557-3645.
Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most. And make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493.
Are you going to start a restaurant or a grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Najee Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Najee Abood, 734-744-9796.
And welcome back, everybody, to Radio Baladi on the U.S. Arab Radio Network. Again, I'm Ray Hanania here at WNZK AM 690 Radio, broadcasting live in Michigan and online and on Facebook on the U.S. Arab Radio Network Facebook page. I got two great guests, like I said, Lena Matariyeh. Lena, welcome to the program today.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's a delight to be here.
And Mohammed Jaber, both of you guys are just phenomenal. Welcome to the program, Mohammed.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ray, for having me.
So I was saying in the beginning of the show that your two races, now some people say, oh, well, Congress is important and the U.S. Senate is important, and even the local legislative Springfield offices are important. But in my opinion, the real importance is at your level. Lena is at the Orland Township as a trustee at Orland Township. That Orland Park and Orland Township are the biggest municipalities and governments between Chicago and Joliet and the southwest side, where the largest concentration of Arabs are residing. And Lena, in your election, you got the highest vote of any candidate that was running. It was just huge and very impressive. Why do you think there was such a change after all the struggles we've had over the past 2-3 decades trying to get somebody elected to office? What made your race so successful?
Personally, I believe it's because I've always been active in the community. A lot of people know my family, who I am. Running for a political role was never something I imagined happening, but I knew I was created to do bigger things. So someone had to step in the role, and it just made sense because of the people that I knew and where my heart sits, wanting to see betterment and inclusion for all. So I believe that was a huge part of the success, is the connections I already had and being out there and door knocking, being at the polls every day during early voting, just making sure I was active.
And being out there, in other words, and you know what, and if you don't mind me saying, you and Mohammed, I'm going to ask Mohammed the same thing. You guys come across as American Arab. You're involved in the local community. Because when I spoke to people, I asked them, why'd you vote for Mohammed? And why'd you vote for Lena? Why didn't you vote for these other candidates? The one thing that I heard was they're very American. They're very concerned about the local community, not just the Middle East. That's not to say we don't care about the Middle East, but you had a very important focus, both of you, on what was happening in our schools, in our local government, because that's the foundation of doing everything else. Mohammed, you're at District 230, the school district, which has 3 of the biggest high schools in the southwest suburbs. It has the largest concentration of Arabs. Back in 1990, there were 600 Arab students out of 6,600 total students, which was less than 10%, but we were 90% of the expulsions. That was in 1990. They intentionally would expel an Arab student to force the family to move out of the district because you couldn't go to another high school if you were expelled in that district. You had to go someplace else, and it was working. We tried and tried so many years. Then in 2023, you got elected. What was your response, and why did you? What got you into that office?
In 2017, I volunteered, not heavily, but I volunteered with Dan McLaughlin's race against Keith Peacock, the first race.
He was running for mayor. That was
running for mayor.
Park.
Yeah, that was the first race, the first match, and I didn't know anything about between both mayors. I heard a lot of great things about Dan McLaughlin at the time. And I was encouraging people to go out and vote for Dan, and in result, Keith won the election. So from then on, I decided to volunteer in local elections. So the campaign I volunteered on was Abdul Nasser Rashid's campaign for Cook County Commissioner. And I knocked on a lot of doors, and I really enjoyed it. And I realized how important local politics was. And then from there, I volunteered with the three trustees, Carol Rusich's campaign in 2019 against the trustees.
Milani and Katsenis and
Katsenis,
Peak House slate, right,
Peak
for
House
trustee.
Yes, so I volunteered on that slate, and I was the second highest door knocker. I door knocked a lot for them. So, and then 2021, I ran for library board because I'm like, you know what, if I'm going to run for something, let me run for I don't want to say it's the lowest.
No, but it's important.
But it's important. And our library runs on a big budget in Orland Park, right? It runs on a huge budget, like a $7 million budget. And I came in last place, but I didn't have the support back then 4 years ago as the Arabs came out in 2025. So, but it was a great experience, and I did well. I got 20% with the name Mohammed on the ballot. And then in 2023, I was interested in running, but I said, you know what? Let me not run. If nothing happens, I'm done with local politics, right? I said, I'm done. Well, I got a phone call in December. They're like, would you like to serve on District 230 board? I'm like, are you sure you're calling the right individual? So they asked me to, and fortunate, and I got elected, and I was unopposed too. I was unopposed, but I got elected, and you know what? It's been a joy since then. So being active, I think, in the community for years prior to running for office is important. That way, you know what to expect, the door knock, to a phone bank, to meet people in the local community. I think that's very important.
Yeah, Abe Lincoln ran, I think, 6 times and lost before he finally got into the legislature. So, and Lena, let me go back. Pardon me? No, we're good. Lena,
okay.
Yeah, no, we're good. Don't worry about the. And just for our radio listeners, we're in Chicago in 3 different locations, connecting with Detroit, as we always do every radio show. And so there are little glitches and things that happen, but we're doing really well broadcasting live on WNZK AM 690 radio. Lena, these are 2 different stories. One person who really worked for years trying to get involved in politics, and you just really, Lena, it's like amazing. You just step up to the plate. Babe Ruth hitting a homer, first time up to bat, and not just a homer. It was like a grand slam with your numbers, though.
Yeah, when I think of the night of when everything was announced and the numbers were running, I just remember till now when I think about it, I get goosebumps. It's very overwhelming, but it was something that just didn't happen. It happened because a lot of people around put in hard work. I was supported by some great people that already hold political roles, endorsed by a lot of great different communities and support. So it wasn't just me running solo. I ran as a slate, and running as a slate is the strongest thing you could do. But for our township, there were 3 slates running against each other. So I'm a trustee, and there's 4 positions, and there were 12 people running for 4 positions. And to be able to get one of the seats, let alone, like you said, getting the most votes, that was a shocker to everyone, including myself. But it was definitely well deserved, especially with what my intention is to create. Like you were saying, there's in Congress and Springfield, there are larger roles that are so important. But without local government, where our roots are, where our feet are every day, where our community is, to me, that's what's so important as a mother and a local real estate broker, always trying to give people the right connections, the right resources. And when this race became an opportunity, the first thing I did was I went to Orland Township website. As soon as you log on there, the first thing you see is working for you. And that hit me deep because that's what I wanted. I wanted to be part of something larger that hears you and provides the resources that you need and the programs that you need. So as I investigated more, to me, it was so important to be involved with the youth and family services. So there's different committees within a township. And I was blessed enough to be given the role of being the chairperson for the youth and family services.
Now, you and Mohammed are kind of in a trick bag. We had, over the years, we've had many Arab Americans and Muslims run for office. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Muslim or a Christian. Most Americans see an Arab and think you're all Muslim. that it doesn't, they just go right to it. They don't know about us. So they look at Arab candidates differently than they look at the Irish or the Italians or blacks or Hispanics. How do you balance that image? And I'm going to ask Mohammed that too. But Lena, how do you balance that image that's projected on you by the public that you're Arab and all you care about is the Arab Middle East? And yet it's so important that we care about local government. How do you deal with that issue when you talk to people and when you explain who you are?
I think even though I was born and raised here, you would think it would come naturally that you automatically earn that American title and that respect and that you're included. But I think the biggest struggle we've had as Arab Americans is not everyone integrates into society. I think because of the way that when our families moved here, everyone just kept to themselves. They all hung out together, had their picnics and their meetings. Everything was just alone. And then as their kids went to school and integrated into society, there just became labels. And I think it's just knocking down those labels, not putting a label on stuff. I'm Arab. I will help anyone. I don't care what your background is, what your ability is. Especially as a mom of kids with special needs, that has opened my mind drastically to be able to make sure everyone's included. To me, it was always making sure that I wasn't being discriminated against for being a woman or a Muslim or a Palestinian. Like those were my struggles growing up. Now it's making sure that there's inclusion for people who don't have their own voice to advocate for themselves. So put me in a completely different role. And I was able to meet so many different people and be exposed to so many different stories that it allowed me the ability to voice my opinion. I always do everything and not in an aggressive manner. I think that's a huge part of my win. I was not aggressive. I was talking to everyone at the polls, even my oppositions who are on different slates, no matter what their belief or their stance was. I didn't create enemies. I already knew with 3 slates running, it was going to be a mix. That's how it most likely was going to work out. And whether I won or did not win, we were all to be working together in the future one way or another, whether it was as a resident or a board member. So I always had that in my mind. I didn't create enemies. I was very respectful. And I learned something a long time ago that you could be aggressive in a respectful manner. You could be firm in a respectful manner. You don't have to attack. You don't have to look at people's past and history and only attack them. People should grow, change, and do better.
And I'll tell you, I've covered politics for 50 years now, and I've never seen it that nice. I'll be honest with you. It's so mean. It's in order to win, people feel they got to tear you down. You did run a very positive campaign. Same thing with Mohammed. He ran a very positive campaign. You pushed aside the criticism, the racism. I mean, when people look at somebody, just like if you're African American, whites are going to look at you and think, you can't represent me. It's like an inherent problem that we face. Mohammed, what was the challenge how did you balance the fact that, just same question that I asked Lena, how did you balance that? The fact that you're an Arab American, the way the community looks at you, what they expect from you, and what you felt you owed to the community and the Arab community, the general community and the Arab community. How did you balance that?
So when I put my name on the ballot, they asked me, "What would you like? Would you like Mo, on the ballot or Mohammed?" I said, I want to put Mohammed.
They didn't want you to change your name to Mike?
They didn't want me changing, but it was Mo.
Straight to Michael. Straight to Michael.
Yeah, so, Michael. I know when I ran the first time just to see what it was like, they said, "Oh, you're Arab. You can't run as Raymond." I said, "What are you talking about? That's my name. You should run as Abdullah." I said, "I'm not running as Abdullah, even though I love that name." But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I put more, I said, I want to put Mohammed. I'm not gonna, I said, if there's an opponent, there's an opponent. And my heart was beating for 3 months. I'm checking the Cook County website constantly, see if everyone's running. And, surprisingly, no one did, right? And it's still an election. So you had 3 months for someone to jump on the race, right?
Right.
And I think what happened prior, I was out there in the community. And I think that's what's important for anyone is to volunteer in the community. People want to see your face, right? People want to see, if you're on the ballot, they want to know who you are, what you stand for. In Orland Park alone, the most important issue, taxes, right?
Yeah.
How are you going to advocate for local taxes? It doesn't matter if you're Arab American, Irish American, Polish American. At the end of the day, everyone gets a tax bill, a yellow tax bill and a blue tax bill. And there's 10 itemized entities of where your money goes to: Cook County, school districts, fire district. And they want to see you advocating for the homeowners, right? They want to see you advocating for the village, for your local park districts, your volunteering on local programs. And I think that's what's important, and that's what will help us overcome our challenges. There's, some individuals, they'll love to run for office, but you're like, we've never really heard of who they are or what they've done for the community. Right. And I think that's very important, as we have to be out there. People want to see us. And if people don't see us, I think that's from being in local politics. If people don't see us, they'll always have I don't want to say a negative image, but maybe like, where are they? Right. And it doesn't matter who they are. Where are they? Who are they? And I think that's very important, as we have to volunteer in the community. We have to be part of this community. And regardless of what's there, people want to see our face. One example is they had a Memorial Day event at the village hall on Memorial Day. They had and there were only I attended. I didn't see anyone else there, and that lived in Orland Park. And I know they had stuff in different towns, but that's an important event for us to go to, for us to be seen. That way, if we want to run for trustee in 2 years, if someone wants to run for a school board position in 2 years, or let's say they want to run for Cook County Commissioner, they'll say, wow, this person cares about this country. This individual really enjoys where he lives, and we're going to vote for him, regardless of what we believe to, what we care for.
All right, Lena, the Orland Township, why is Orland Township important, do you think, to the community? I mean, it's big. And for people, when they hear the word township, they think, townships don't do anything. But in truth, in Cook County, where we live, townships are so significant in terms of taxing and services, especially to seniors. Tell us about some of the things that you do, that the township does, and what you, as a trustee, hope to see improve, maybe over the next 4 years of your term.
So that's a really good question. So the Orland Township covers 3 different cities. It covers Orland Park, Orland Hills, and Tinley Park. I live in Orland Hills, where we've had the same mayor since the 90s. He's always operated everything smoothly, and always welcomed and respected the Arab community, which is why I chose to live in Orland Hills when I was purchasing my first home.
And he speaks very highly of you too, the mayor there.
Yeah, he's just great guy. The first time I met him, and this is like part of who I am, like, I don't decorate my house for Halloween, but I'll still take my kids out and have fun and let them be part of what's going on around us. Right. So the first time I met him was at my daughter's school. They had a school parade for Halloween, and I'm sitting there in a unicorn onesie. And the mayor is next to me, and we're talking. I had just moved there like a year ago, and he always jokes about that, and I always joke, like, it's just funny that when you meet someone and how you are at that time and what could grow from that. I never had a personal relationship with him. It was always a respectful and community-based one. I always met with him, talked to him what we could do I never went to him and said, what can we do for the Arab community? I went to him and said, what can we do to make the community as inclusive as possible? That if there were 2 Caucasian boys playing at the park and a non-Caucasian person walked by, that they could just join them, even if they don't know them. That's my dream of a community, that if you see something and you want to be part of it, that you're welcomed with open arms, not having to fight, or your parents have to become friends with their parents just so they could say hi to you. And that's what I noticed. Yeah.
So racism is kind of a subtle thing. I mean, it really mostly was the past, because the more people didn't understand us. A lot of racism is people don't understand us. It's not that they dislike us or they hate us. I grew up on the southeast side of Chicago that was all white. I thought I was white. I didn't even know I was really Arab, because I was hanging around with white kids. And then one black family moved in. The entire neighborhood on the southeast side went from white, 100% white, to 99% black in the course of 6 months. That was in the 60s. today there's a better understanding of Blacks, Hispanics, and now Arabs. Do you think Arabs are going through that educational process a little bit better? You think people understand you more now today than maybe 10 years ago? I mean, you're young. Obviously, I've been around a lot longer, but in your life, have you seen a growing acceptance of being Arab and Muslim?
I would say yes. Before, if I didn't know the situation I was in, I didn't highlight I was Arab, but I also didn't deny it, which was big for me. But my name also let me blend in. My look also let me blend in with all different backgrounds. So for me, that was great. But for other people, it's not so easy to integrate. But it's allowing them to see me as a person and welcoming their questions. I always tell people, whatever questions you have, like when it's Ramadan, I tell people, oh, we're fasting and this is going on. They're like, can I ask a question? I think as long as we're sharing what we're personally going through, it opens the door to allow that communication and that growth and that experience with people. And just voicing to them that you could ask me any question anytime. It's not going to be insulting. And if you don't feel comfortable answering it, that's not disrespectful to any party. But I've never been in a situation where someone asked me a question that I couldn't answer kindly or respectfully that made me feel good without taking the Arab side or the non-Arab side. It was just always, this is who I am, this is my identity, these are my roots, but I am here now. And this is part of our society, and I don't think we're going anywhere. If I go anywhere, it's going to be for better weather, not for moving across to a different country or anything like that.
Mohammed, I want to ask you the same thing, but before I do, let me give a final question to Lena because she has to jump off in a couple minutes. And you're going to hang on, correct, for a few more minutes after the break?
Yes.
Got it. Lena, what is the biggest challenge do you think that you face? And obviously, you've only been in like a couple months now, 60 days or so.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of running for the U.S. Congress or throw your hat in for the U.S. Senate race, to take Dick Durbin's place?
I never thought I'd be running for the role that I'm in now. I would like to focus on this role. As you said, I just got in there.
Right.
The biggest struggle I've had is just learning the ropes and really educating myself, going to trainings and seminars, talking to other people. Am I going to run for something bigger? I don't know. I don't have that in my agenda, but we
I'm
don't know
just
what the
joking
future.
with you. I'm not
Yeah.
pushing you.
We
I'm
don't.
happy to
We
have
don't
you
know
in the
what the future
township.
holds.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you do great in the township. The sky's the limit. Any final thoughts from you, Lena, before I let you go? And thank you for joining us because I know your time schedule is a little tight.
Yeah, just for me, it's to encourage everyone to get involved with your local community. It doesn't mean you have to run for a position. It means finding out where your township is. So our township runs, as I was saying, 3 different towns. And why I chose a township because all 3 towns that they cover have such a large Arab community that I didn't want to just go for something in Orland Hills, which would still be great, but only be able to help the residents there. I wanted something that we could create programs and resources that speak to everyone. And that's something the township has always been great on is creating so many different programs. But I want to create more diverse and programs for people with special needs, people that are struggling with different things. So it's not just for one category, it's something that's created for all. But in order for these programs to succeed, we want people to show up at board meetings. We want people to show up at the events that we're creating. If you can't make it, share it with other people. But get involved, go volunteer, go to your local food pantry, meet people, talk to people, let them know who you are. Like one of the during Ramadan, when I was doing elections, I met this wonderful lady who came up to me and said, I got so excited when I saw your name. I volunteer at the pantry twice a week. And she's this beautiful lady who's been wearing the scarf and at the township volunteering for years. Everyone knows her and respects her there. But there's not a lot of people doing that. And I encourage more and more people to get involved where you're comfortable. None of this is something that you have to do on a regular basis, but just get your foot out there. Take your kids to an event if the library's throwing an event. Go to a school board meeting, go to school functions, just be involved and have fun with it because that's what we're all here for is to connect and have the support we need. And if you're not involved, you can't get that support.
Knowing politics the way I do, Lena, you have a great future. Both of you,
Thank
actually,
you.
Mohammed and you have got a great future. Lena Matariyeh, thank you for joining us. I know you have to
Thank
go.
you.
Lena is a recent was recently elected April 1st to the Orland Township Board of Trustees. She's a trustee. She's here for 4 years. Her first election, first win, largest vote of anybody running in that township. That just phenomenal, Lena. You got a great future in front of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ray. I appreciate you. Take care.
All right, we'll talk later. And Mohammed, we're going to continue talking with Mohammed Jaber at the school district. I've only known Mohammed about, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, was it? We got to know each other. And I'm so inspired by your understanding of politics and the role that Arab Americans should take. I want to talk to you a little bit more about that, but let me just take our next break here real quick. You're listening to the Ray Hanania radio show, Radio Ballady, on the U.S. Arab Radio Network, on WNZK AM 690 Radio, broadcasting live in Michigan, on Facebook, online, and of course, you'll probably be watching this on YouTube when we're done. We just got through talking with Lena Matariyeh, who is a elected member, trustee of the Orland Township board in the Chicagoland area. Chicago has a big Arab population, but it's not like Dearborn and the greater Detroit region, where you're so concentrated in one area. We're spread out all over the place. And because of the boundaries and districts and things, it's very hard to get elected. But Lena and my guest, Mohammed, both managed to get elected. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue talking with Mohammed Jaber, who was elected in 2023 to the important High School District 230 School Board. I'm Ray Hanania. We'll be right back right after these messages.
ArabNews.com, bringing you breaking news from across the Middle East and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the latest headlines with expert analysis and insights at ArabNews.com. Join over 5 million Facebook fans and over 10 million monthly readers. ArabNews.com, news that matters to you.
Ziyad brand, quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. and Ohio, toll free at 855-952-9600. 855-952-9600.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Radio Ballady. Again, this is Ray Hanania. My website is hanania.com if you want to read my columns, or rayhanania.com. And it's amazing because I have a cousin, Richard Hanania, who got into journalism because of me. And he's doing really well. He's far more conservative and far to the right than I am. I'm more of a centrist. So I often get people call him and ask about me, thinking that he's me, and people call me and think that I'm him. So just keep in mind, it's Ray Hanania, R-A-Y Hanania. We're on the line here at Radio Ballady with Mohammed Jaber. We just finished interviewing Lena Matariyeh. These are 2 Arab Americans who broke the glass ceiling in Chicagoland elections, winning office in important races. Mohammed, how do you deal with, we were talking to Lena about the perceptions that people have. You know, they look at you, they see your name, they wonder, are you the same as me? And a lot of it, you know, when we talk about racism, it's about 90% of the people. Racism is just, I don't know you. I'm not sure who you are. I'm not familiar. It's not they don't like us or they hate us or they don't want us. They just don't know us. And then, of course, there's, I think, the 10%, they just hate us. It doesn't matter whether they know us or not. How do you deal with that? And do you see that much?
Yeah, you know, it it was getting better in the late 90s, early in the 2000. Then it hit our community, the Arab community, hard in 2001 after 9/11, right? And when we were making progress, it hit us hard. When Obama got elected, and it's at the national level, right? All this
Right.
kind of hatred. It doesn't start at the local level. It really starts at the national level, and it's a trickle down effect all the way to the local level. This is different, where in politics, it's at the local level, it goes to the national level. Racism starts at the national level, goes down to the local level. That's my opinion. So when Obama got elected, we thought, okay, it's going to get better. It's, we're going to see a lot of progress. It didn't, right? It's still, it got a little bit better, but we're staying steady, right? Where people were afraid of us. Let me put it that way. They're afraid of us.
Yes.
They didn't know what to expect, right? And it didn't change much under Obama. With Trump, he had his followers. I think
that kind of fed. I mean,
yeah.
Trump's followers. I think the real hard line, but the Democrats were the same way. They just didn't articulate it. They didn't say it.
No, well,
but Trump's followers fed it more openly, though, right?
They fed it, but with Trump's policy being more focused on Arab countries in 2017, 2018, you saw a little bit of progress there, right? But then pandemic hit. So then on a decline. Then when Biden got elected, okay, change from Trump. It's going to get better. Oh, it was a lot worse under Biden. A lot worse. And what you see what's going on in Palestine and Gaza, right? And the genocide that's occurring. But now with Trump being reelected and being focused on and now his national policy compared to his world policy, I think his world policy is a little bit different. And you see him now reaching out to more Arab countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, right? And when people see that, what do they do now? And they have access to their phones and they have access to their computers. They Google, why is this happening? And they see, and I think they're starting to see a better perception of us, right? Even though there are racism in his cabinet, absolute 100%. There's like Marco Rubio. He's no support of us, right? He's a terrible person, and Mike Huckabee too, a very terrible. But I think when you start doing businesses with Arab countries, and then they start to see how effective we are as a region, they're going to start respecting us. They're going to say, "Oh wow, Arabs really bring a lot of value to this world. This is something we never knew before." So I think perception little is going to start changing. And you saw it with this last election, with not just Lena Matariyeh being elected, even Aisha Zayed at 135, and then we have a new Russia Atallah at 117, school board 117. So now we're starting to see more Arabs being elected at the local level.
Yeah, and I don't mean to demean the Russia and the other candidates. The school district races are at the lower races. The elementary school races. They're so narrow and focused. They're smaller,
right?
And I don't mean to criticize them because that's an important place, to be involved and engaged. When you get to your level at a high school district and Lena's level at a township, you're talking about a big geographic area, and it augments, the public perceptions, the racism, the support. But the one thing I wanted to ask you was actually two things. Back in February 2023, I remember when Yusuf Ziger went to the village board. They wanted to cease fire. They were like
24. February 24.
Well, I think it was February 24. You're right. They went to the board meeting. They asked the mayor at the time, that Keith Pekow, hey, would you support a ceasefire? The fact was that Pekow and his board had supported a ceasefire for Ukraine. But when the Arabs went to the board, and first of all, they didn't ask about local taxes or anything. They asked about an international issue, ceasefire in the Palestine-Israel war, Hamas-Israel war. And the mayor basically said, go to another country. He kind of was very confrontational with them. he kind of brushed them off. He was insulted. It seemed like, when you listen to him, he was insulted. The Arab community, I haven't seen him be at a board meeting. The only Arabs that I saw talking about non-Middle East issues were you, Tom Tresser, Lena Matariyeh, a couple other people talking about TIF districts and taxes. I didn't, and I'm not criticizing Yusuf. He's a great guy. I thought he did a great job at the board, but the community seemed to walk away from the issue once that was done. When it was about the Middle East, they were really energized. But when it went away from the Middle East, I don't see them coming out to the board meetings. I don't see them, saying, hey, our taxes are too high. I don't see them getting angry about that. Is that a problem, or is it because we're victims as Arabs in this country? We're pushed into that Middle East corner, and we're not allowed to really kind of talk about everything else. We have to fight to talk about property taxes and things like that. What do you think of that issue? I mean, why don't we see more Arabs at the local board saying, hey, my property taxes are too high, and I want them reduced?
So here's one thing, right, that's going to affect local municipalities, which many don't know about. The 1% that JB got rid of, the grocery tax last year in 24.
Right.
Now he's kicking that. He was like, it makes him look good, right?
Makes him look good at the expense of local.
It makes these mayors look bad.
Governments,
because they have to make a choice now. These
like he did it on purpose.
Do I raise this 1% tax, or do I make cuts? So there's no good solution for these local municipalities, right? They have to choose one or the other. But for a town like Orland Park, right, that 1%, now 1% to us is, what's 1%? It's a big deal out of 100%, right? But that 1% in Orland Park, because of all the grocery stores we have, Costco we're talking about, Jewel-Osco, Mariano's, now Pete's Market, Whole Foods, right? That 1% will draw Orland Park about, $5 to $6 million? That's a lot of money for a town like ours. So a local mayor, he can make cuts. It's not going to make him look good or make her look good, or they could raise it.
And we should be involved in that, right?
We should be involved.
Because Orland Park's going to have to come up with I just interviewed Mayor Dodge, who beat Pico, thankfully, and has been very open with the Arab and Muslim community and with all communities. Dodge has done a great job, I think. He told me that in that interview I did with him this week that, they're going to face a $4 million loss of revenue from the state because of what Pritzker did. I call it the Pritzker tax.
It's actually
now he has to find a way to make up that $4 million. It's unfair to local governments.
Well, it's actually, I think it's a little bit worse now because Pete's Market opened. Pete's wasn't in the equation then. Now Pete's open and Pete's busy, right?
And more, right, yeah.
And you're going to get a lot more people there from your surrounding neighborhoods. And again, I think taxes, and I always say, when I talk to my colleagues, and I said, what's one thing that makes us all equal? There's one thing, Ray, that makes us all equal: taxes.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, taxes hit households hard. And when you truly advocate for taxes and not decrease, taxes don't go down. We know that, right?
Right.
But keeping taxes steady, not being too aggressive with it.
And justified.
Yes.
You got to be justified. We do know, like you said, taxes go up, the costs of everything go up. It's the government at the national level is forcing us to raise taxes because the costs that we got to deal with have to go up. Mohammed, I know you only got a couple minutes left, but what's the one thing you hope to accomplish and by the way, congratulations, you were appointed as a commissioner on the Orland Fire Protection District.
Thank you so much.
Neither of these things have to do with the Middle East, but in a way they do have to do with the Middle East because mainstream Americans are looking at a guy named Mohammed and saying, wow, he cares about the schools, he cares about education, he cares about our kids, and now he cares about the fire district, he cares about our safety, our health, our lives. The fire district has the highest cardiac arrest save rate. You care about keeping people alive. It has nothing to do with the Middle East, but in a way it does have to do with the Middle East because it raises the esteem that people have for someone named Mohammed. Do you get that sense sometimes that you're doing more good by for the Middle East by addressing property taxes and making the community safe than you would be out protesting?
100%. I do. And actually, I said this to my wife the other day. I said, in order for people to start recognizing people from the Middle East, especially Palestinians, American Palestinians, because I think right now that's the one group that's getting hit.
Right.
We have to start advocating at the local level.
Right.
And that every culture has done that. The Irish they've done that in the 30s, whether the 30s or the 40s, right? Please, am I correct? Was it in the 1930s or 40s?
Yeah.
They came here. They were discriminated against for how many years? 20, 30, 40 years. And they started getting into local offices, and look at the difference they have made in local politics and Chicago politics, right?
Yeah.
And I think once we have people at the local level, and you advocate for the community, for infrastructure, for taxes, for the needs of our constituents, whether it's redoing parks, whether it's redoing the roads, sidewalks, having events where the community come out and enjoy. When people see us participating in that, they're going to start having a different mindset of the whole community. They're going to start seeing our value in the community. And I think what's more important. That's what's important.
All right, Mohammed Jaber, trustee at High School District 230, which has 3 huge high schools. The population of the student body has significant. I think it may be 15 to 20% Arab students that are in that 6,700 or 6,800 student body. And it's just very important to have diversity on the board, everybody's view, everybody represented. And I like that aspect of it. I may try to figure out to write a column about because Palestinians are under siege today. Because of what's happening in the Middle East, we're the ones getting beat up. And sometimes the way to do it is not to address the Middle East, but show people we're no different than they are about local schools and taxes and all that. So, Mohammed, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. All right, buddy? I don't know if you can still hear. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, have a good one, Ray.
All right, we lost you there for a second. They're already trying to cut us out here. The national, Marco Rubio, he's trying to crack down on us, and Kristi Noem. Probably going to be knocking at your door in a few minutes. All right, Mohammed Jaber, thank you, buddy. We appreciate talking to you. All right, I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to take our last break here in a minute. And when we come back, I want to talk about Elon Musk's proposal to create the America Party. We're going to do that, and we'll take some calls at 248-557-3300. I'm Ray Hanania. We're going to be right back right after these messages.
The U.S. Arab Radio Network is the largest Arab and Muslim radio network in America, broadcasting throughout the Midwest region Monday through Friday on WNZK AM 690. U.S. Arab Radio features Arabic and English language programming on every topic, from health, food, and culture to government, politics, and legal issues. Listen live to U.S. Arab Radio in Michigan, Toledo, Ohio, and Windsor, Canada on WNZK AM 690. And in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia on WDMV 700 AM. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. So join us every day on the U.S. Arab Radio Network and check out our website at www.arabradio.us. Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493. At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain.
And welcome back to Radio Ballady, Ray Hanania and Politics here at the U.S. Arab Radio Network on WNZK AM 690 Radio. I want to thank both our guests that we had, Mohammed Jaber, who is a trustee at High School District 230, which represents 3 big high schools outside of Chicago in the Chicago suburbs, 7,000 kids, and a huge Arab population there that for years was the target of racism and just horrible stuff. And it's changed. And you put somebody named Mohammed Jaber on the board, who's an Arab and a Muslim, and you're going to see change, fairness to everybody, and especially to the Arab community, which was discriminated. And Lena Matariyeh, out of the really her first election, what a phenomenal person she is. Just like Mohammed, just 2 great people. It's so good to see this quality of people holding office. They're American and very proud of their Palestinian heritage. Lena Matariyeh was elected in a first ever run on her part. She'd never run before. She's a real estate agent, very smart. And she won a trustee seat on Orland Township, which represents 2 big suburban communities outside of Chicago, 3 actually, Orland Hills, Orland Park, and Tinley Park. So her role is significant in terms of changing the way people look at us. You know, as Arab Americans, we face a lot of racism. Some of it is subtle. You know, they'll talk about those, and when I say subtle, I mean they'll say, "Oh, Ray Hanania and Mohammed Jaber," or Ray Hanania and Lena Matariyeh. They single us out. In a way, that's racism. That's what it is. They're talking about us. But they don't have to, you know, today's racists, they don't come and say bad things about us to our faces now, the way like in the 50s or the 60s. Now it's more subtle and very sophisticated. They single Muhammad out and me out, and they criticize us. And you're wondering, okay, maybe it's because we're Arab. And you get that sense that that's where the racism comes from. Listen, this past week, Elon Musk. Now, again, I know that some people like him. They don't like him. I don't know. He owns Twitter, or you can call it X.com or whatever. You know, he's the richest man in the world. He can do whatever he wants. He's been very successful. I may not agree with everything he does, but I will tell you, I do agree with his idea to launch the America Party. And it is a third party, and third parties can't elect presidents. Third parties, you know, they say, well, that's not going to work. The American Party is not going to work because you can't elect a president. Well, that's true, but a third party can impact a presidential election, as we saw in the U.S. When in 2024, November 24, when Trump beat Kamala Harris, because Kamala Harris refused to speak out for the principles she claimed that she represented. You know, supporting people, human rights, diversity, and the rights of Arab Americans. She said she believed in us and wanted to support us, but she wouldn't do it. And she turned her back on the need to, she couldn't even express in a strong way support for, you know, the Palestinians who were being beat in Gaza by the Israelis. And it was upsetting to me. And, you know, and they say, well, you know, by not voting for Kamala Harris, you elected Trump, who's just as anti-Arab as Harris and Biden were. But the truth was, the person who says that they're very pro-Arab and isn't is more upsetting to me than the guy who says, I don't like you. I know that person doesn't like me, and that's not surprising. But the person who says they're my friend, I expect them to act like a friend. And Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did not do that. They stood in the way. They fueled Israel's genocide and war crimes against Palestinians. And as a consequence, they lost the election. Now we're dealing with Trump because of them, not because Arabs abandoned Kamala Harris. It's not our fault they lost. Yeah, we abandoned them, and we either voted for Trump, some of us did, but most of us voted for Jill Stein, who happened to be Jewish, who was more pro-Arab and fair, not even pro-Arab. I'd say she supported human rights and dignity for everybody. But that third-party race, Jill Stein couldn't win office, even though she's a phenomenal person. She impacted that race, and that's exactly what Elon Musk's party can do. We're in the midterm elections where the Republicans today control the White House, Congress, the Senate, the House of Representatives. They have a majority, a slim majority. This midterm election, it's very possible that and I don't know if it's a good idea just to have the Democrats take back the House and the Senate. I think what would be great would be if a third party like the American Party took seats away from the Republicans and prevented both the Republicans from controlling the Senate and the House. And if the American Party could win some of those seats in Congress and the House and one Senate seat, that American Party could force the two sides to have to compromise in order to do things. Because right now, the Republicans are doing what they want to do. The Democrats are doing what they want to do. They don't care about what's right. We need to force them to come together. And I think the American Party could do that. That's why I support Elon Musk's American Party. I think it's in the best interest of the Arab American community. It's in the best interest of people who believe in human rights and dignity. I think the American Party, it's not about what they stand for, but the role that they will play in this upcoming election. If they can get it together and win enough seats to strip the Republicans of control of the House and the Senate and prevent the Democrats from taking control of the House and the Senate, we could force Republicans and Democrats to stop destroying this country and end the polarization, end the hatred, and start doing what they were elected to do the smart things. Anyway, listen, you can read more about that by going to my website at Hanania.com, Hanania. I want to thank WNZK AM 690 Radio, Layla Al-Husseini, for this, giving us this opportunity to do the show today. I always appreciate it. And keep your eyes open for the return of the Ray Hanania radio show, hosted by Arab News. That should be starting soon. We're hoping to get that off the ground. So I appreciate it. But go to Hanania.com if you want to stay up on what's happening. This show with Lena Matariyeh and Mohammed Jaber will be broadcast on YouTube with the U.S. Arab Radio Network and also on my YouTube channel at Ray Hanania. Remember, go to Hanania.com to get more information. Thanks to the producer, Mike Chupka, and everybody for doing everything. We will talk to you again soon. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ray Hanania. Have a great week. We love you, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.